A very good evening, everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, ZMH286, Patricia and David. On this rather blustery, well, it is down here in New Zealand, a very blustery day we've had. Squally, rain showers, lots of wind from the southwest. Currently, it actually looks quite pleasant if you're sitting inside out of the wind. It's anything from 12 to about 20 now, knots that is. 1.5, no, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing here. Where is my thing here? It is, yes, I did say southwest, 12 to 20, 18 degrees, 1014.2. There's a bit of a trough overnight, and 20% cloud cover. So it has been one of those days that's been very unpleasant to be outside. Much nicer in Minerva by the sound of it. Thank you, Pajian. 14 knots from the southeast, 1.5 metre east-southeast. It's 80% cloud cover at the moment, but they've had it clear most of the day in 1014. So 4 boats left today: Tango, Coral Moon, Awa and Odyssey. Tango's down at 24 degrees 25 already, 179.47 west, on a course of 227, 6.8 knots, and it looks like southeast 15 down there. A bit further back it's a bit stronger. Awa has got, they've got to 24 degrees even, 179.19 west, 5.5 knots on a course of 212, and then further back closer to Minerva is Odyssey, and back further again is Coral Moon. So Donella and a few others I think are leaving tomorrow, so that will leave Pajian there to enjoy some tranquility and maybe turn the lights out when they go. So there's not much here to cover tonight. Oh, a very good evening to John and Lynette up there at Margero, Whitehawk. So that's good. And also we have got a hello from Mike, and we'll soon find out what their position is, Kotanui and Picasso. So not too much news here, except if you were a gang member in New Zealand, because at midnight last night it is now illegal in New Zealand to portray any gang affiliation. You cannot wear gang patches on your jackets. There'll be an awful lot of leather jackets going.
Smelly.
You can't, smelly leather jackets. And similar paraphernalia cannot be displayed in vehicles or anywhere else. The whole thing is to avoid people being intimidated by the gangs, and to allow the police a bit more control, because they do seem to be the instigators of a lot of crime in the country. And apart from that, I know that this is going to make quite a few people very, very envious, and I'm thinking of Kotanui and Picasso and maybe even Whitehawk. But boy, the supermarkets and the vegetable, particularly stores, are loaded with beautiful fresh summer produce here in New Zealand. I can imagine that all those coming south from Minerva are going to really look forward to all the strawberries and eggplants and asparagus that's all fresh and new season. It's absolutely lovely to shop when it's reasonable prices again, and just lovely fresh produce. Okay, well, talking about Kotanui, they are on a course of 280 true, 6.5 knots, and 8 to 12 knots from east. Yes, and they are jealous. And I will look up their position at the moment, in a moment. So David's got a little bit here. It looks like, folks, that we will be ending. This was the first time in years that we have been able to finish. I always write down on our website that Gulf Harbour Radio starts at the beginning of May and finishes at the end of November. But what has happened in previous years is that we've had lots of boats still around going into December. So, but this year it's going to be absolutely wonderful. We'll be able to get down on Chameleon and get things organised early December, because it looks like everyone that's moving towards New Zealand is going to be here by the end of November. So let's see what David's got to say for the following few days. Okay, contact.
Go ahead, contact.
Into your roll call and give you a little weather update here if you're willing.
Yeah, that would be great because you're sort of ahead of the bunch, so it would be great. So go ahead.
So 1800 position was 25 degrees, 15 minutes south, 179 degrees, 27 minutes east. We are on a course of 230 degrees true. Speed of 6.09. Current wind is, I would say it's east-southeast at 12, 1-2. Maybe a little bit more. Anemometer's not working, so that's the best guess. Just starting to white cap a little bit. Swell is east at 1.5 meter. Cloud cover 60%, and the bar is 1016. Had a very, very lovely afternoon and evening and morning. It's kind of in the 8-knot range. Stepped up to about 12 knots maybe an hour ago, and it looks like we're starting to get into the cloud line and a little bit more breeze for the evening. So that is Morningstar's report for the day. And again, you.
And a very lovely radio signal you guys have got too. I'll just repeat that in case others are a little bit too close to copy. Morningstar, who left yesterday, I believe, from Minerva, 25 degrees, 15 south, 179.27 east. So you've crossed the date line. Did I get east right, or did I?
That's what I heard.
Did go. You did say east. Are we still east? Over.
Yeah, Roger, still east for the day.
Okay, I thought it might have been west. All right, east, 230 true at 6 knots. East southeast 12, which is actually what the GFS is talking about, 12 to 15. So that's good. East 1.5 meters swell, 60% cloud cover, 1016, and it sounds like you've had a really nice day sailing. So good, and have a good night, and we'll find out
ETA
where
for
you
New
are
Zealand.
tomorrow. Oh yeah, David's very interested to know what your ETA is. Over.
Well, we're not in any real big hurry, and it looks like the breeze is just going to improve angle-wise behind us. So we're going to just kind of sail as is comfortable and probably let the fleet behind us catch up. So thinking, 5 or 6 days thing, roughly. And I'm going to be looking for Shannon after the net if Shannon's on frequency. So I'll give Shannon a call as well.
Yeah, what sort of boat is Morningstar?
Morningstar is a Canadian-built Scepter. It's a Scepter 43, just kind of traditional monohull.
Okay, thank you for that. And Dave on Shandon, stay awake right through the net because you've got communication after it. And I think you're still at anchor somewhere up north. Got a message from Sue yesterday. All right, thank you for that. And here's David, my David.
All right, that was good. Yeah, it would be nice if we next couple of days would continue to get contact with yachts that are heading to New Zealand. So Morningstar, if you're able to do that each evening, that would be appreciated. I want to definitely try to correlate with your actual conditions. I've told everybody this a million times, I suppose, but the models have been all over the place the last couple of weeks, and it's good. Actual information is useful. So just a quick look at the Southwest Pacific. We have a 1031 high in the mid-Tasman. We've got a depression in the Southern Ocean, well south of New Zealand, pretty much on the date line. Now the depression is sending frontal bands up New Zealand, up all through the country, and one of them to a low that's at 30 south and 170 west. And lastly, we've got a high to the east. It's strong, at 1032 millibar. Now, from the mentioned low, a trough runs to the north along pretty much 170 west, then at about 26 south, 26 south, it makes a curve heading to Viti Levu via Tonga. Fiji Met has also picked up something different. There's a weak depression at 10 south and the dateline. And from this, a trough runs to Samoa and then onward to the northern Cooks. And we're hoping that the system is going to just get absorbed. But in short, the atmosphere is pretty active. Since most of you are in Minerva, the forecast through tomorrow is southeast about 10 to 15 knots with 20 knots at times, 20 knots at times, and seas about 2 meters. So consider this the same forecast for Saturday. Now, be aware that by Monday, a weak depression may form over New Caledonia. It's complicated as there are two centers that are moving toward New Zealand by Thursday the 28th. Now, it may reach the North Island by Friday the 29th. So this was pretty quick to show up on the models. So all that we can say at this point is to keep watching, and remember, models are just ideas and they can change very quickly, and they have been. Now, those who elect to stay in Tonga for a little while, be advised that strong winds are probably going to arrive around Thursday, and that will go through Saturday, probably longer, due to a strong high to the south. Now, what's happening, if those of you that are looking at your models, your EC and GFS and whatnot, you won't really see a high for a while, but what happens is the high that's in the Tasman later in the week, it buds. It sends a ridge to the east, and then a new high forms. And that high is not particularly strong at this point, maybe about a 1025, strong enough. But the isobars are pretty close together, all the way up to Fiji and north of Fiji. And so that is going to provide the impetus for the strong winds that are going to be in Tonga, Minerva, and Fiji as well. Now, looking to the west of all of that, I see basically a very narrow ridge, a high pressure ridge that will follow this depression slash trough, whatever it winds up becoming. So it is looking very narrow, in fact. So behind that is a low, and actually that's about in the middle of Australia, where you would expect it to be because of the heat that's in Australia. You always tend to see anticyclonic isobars in the middle of Australia this time of the year, and as summer rolls on. To the south of that, there is I guess you would call it a weak sort of depression that's in the Bight. However, off to the west of all of this, we have a very, very intense low, a depression that's just to the southwest of Perth. And this obviously is going to move east. How fast it moves east, I don't know. So what we don't know, and the models certainly are not extending themselves that far, is what is going to happen in our area of the Pacific. So in other words, that high that I talked about is going to build, provide the strong winds, so forth and so on. Then New Zealand is going to have probably going to have the depression or trough reaching the North Island, and that's the 29th. that'll reach the North Island by the 29th. So those winds, by the way, if that does happen, are going to be northeasterly winds. So those boats that have left Minerva and, well, maybe like Morningstar taking their time to get in, they may get involved in the system, whatever it winds up being. But at the moment, it looks like it's going to be northeast winds for that point in time, which is the 29th. So that's what's happening. There's just a lot of activity in the Southwest Pacific. And this 7 days between systems, the rule of thumb that people like to use, it's not the case. Things are moving quicker than that, and the models aren't keeping up, to be quite frank with you. All of them are a little bit different, and that's not a good sign, particularly when you're just looking at a couple of days. You would expect 4 models in 3 days to be pretty much alike, and they're not. And when that doesn't happen, it's hard to really have faith in any of them, nor should you. So again, just look at these models as an idea, and just keep looking every day. If you've got Starlink or whatever you happen to have, or listen to us, we'll be updating you as to what the whole area looks like over the next week. So that's the story. And with that, I'll pass it back to the chief.
Oh, and everything here is working tonight. We've got our new system operating, and just at the end of the season, but it's meant to be more stable, and it certainly has got everything. We've got good signals anyway in the radio room, which is good, which is quite a distance away from the router, but we now have this extra little gizmo. So is there anybody wanting to make contact with Gulf Harbour Radio? Please call.
Shandon.
Oh, good copy, David. So I will pass it. I'll close things down and then pass it over for you and Morningstar. Whereabouts are you at the moment? Over.
I'm on a very bumpy mooring in Opua, southwest 18-20 knots, over.
Well, that's what we've been experiencing all day, southwest, and actually it's been higher than that. So you're still in Opua. Thank you for that. And it does sound a bit snotty to be there, but at least it's not cold. You have to be thankful for at least it being a little bit on the warm side. All right, well, Shandon was the only boat I heard, and I'm sure I heard you better than you're hearing me because I'm hearing you from the Kaio antenna. So I am going to close Gulf Harbour Radio down now, and if anybody wants anything email-wise, ghradio@xtra.co.nz, and otherwise all those leaving tomorrow from Minerva, get organised. And I forgot to give you the position for Kota Nui, and it's interesting, it was about 3 minutes ago that I had my AIS one, but they have got a position of 15 degrees 04 south and 14847 east. Them and Picasso a bit behind, with the 8 to 12 from the east that I mentioned, and a nice steady 6.5 knots in a westward direction. Okay, good evening everybody, and the frequency is now in use with a Morningstar and Shandon. Cheers.
Shandon, Morningstar. Yeah, I got your 5 and 9, booming in, over. Good evening to you. Yeah, you've got a fantastic signal out here, so propagation is really cleaned up in the last day or so. How are things in Opua?
Bumpy.
Well, we're very exposed. Wind is blowing around 20 knots, very short, bumpy sea. I went ashore this morning and had a high old time getting back, very wet. Do you have a position report, over? Yeah, sorry about the slot getting in and out. We'll have to think about that in a little bit. We're at 25 degrees, 15 minutes south, 179 degrees, 27 minutes east, and had just a lovely when it's smooth. Over. Yeah. I just got the report from the cockpit about 3 minutes ago that we fell off a little bit because it was more comfortable. So we're pointing a little lower now and moving a little more easily. Over. Yeah, I'm a great believer in bearing away. It makes life simpler because the wind will change and then you can harden up. That's very good. I mean, it's silly to talk about ETA, but roughly any idea, over? I guess I got to think about this. I think probably Wednesday morning, roughly, and it'll depend a little bit. The models really show some very, very light wind out in the middle, and David was on Gulf Harbour here was talking about the systems that are coming over. So when we get down to striking distance, we'll have to make a decision.
So you see, they do listen.
Wind through it, or a motor through it, or potentially it may have filled in from the northeast by the time we get there. So given all of those variables, I'm not kind of a chicken yet. Yeah. Well, we've been watching predict wind anyway. Who comes up for Sunday or Monday? Probably Sunday. So we may or may not be here, but we'll keep in touch. If this propagation keeps going, we'll definitely keep in touch every day. I heard you this morning very faintly on 14330, but didn't come up. 1688 to both of you, and hopefully talk to you tomorrow, over. Thank you, David, thank you. And please pass on to Sue that we are having a ton of fun with the little passage.